Kathy Vick, Deeply Awake. And, I don't have very many of these left in me in the current state I'm in. I'm going to be getting surgery in less than 2 weeks. And, you know, it's major surgery. It's not anything. It's supposed to be an overnight procedure, believe it or not. Yeah. Replace your hip joint. And unless you have bad numbers or, I don't know, extenuating social circumstances, you're in there for a night. Which, I mean, I think is really probably a good idea if you've got the support at home. And I just got to make sure I've got the equipment. And I'm kind of screwed that way right now. So it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky. But I have some plans, and I'm going to be able to enact them tomorrow. And so it's going to be a very busy day tomorrow. And so the things that I excel at are talking about esoteric things and thinking about esoteric things and being like spiritually driven and all about beauty and happiness and warmth and joy and yeah, I'm a little crippled sometimes still from just bad habits basically and resistances. There they are. What can you do? And but I'm learning, and I have lots of people around me who help me learn a different way to be that is just less confrontational and less suspicious and less afraid. And these are all things that I think came at the end of a walk that just became harder and harder and harder, and that I just didn't want to do anymore. So, and I would say, by 2011, things were beginning to lighten up to the point where I was having visions, and I was beginning to feel good some of the time. And like I've said, this the most important thing that you can learn from this whole process. If you only take one thing away, it's that when I started out this process, I felt good maybe 10% of the time, maybe. I mean, for a while, for a long time before everything got really dreamy and pretty, it was nil. It was bad. I hated myself, and I hated my life, and I hated the people around me, and I hated everything. All the time. I was so confused and so upset and I felt so betrayed and so tricked and just by everything. And that was around 2011. And things started to ease up and get better because I decided finally that I needed to do something brand new. And I went to Mile High Church of Religious Science, and things got better for me after that. I was finally okay there with being spiritual. And something I hadn't given myself permission to do or be for a long time. And I had bumps in the road where I felt so tricked and so hurt and so betrayed. And if I told you the stories, you'd cry. You'd gasp. And you'd wonder how it is that I sit here now, as kind and gentle and thoughtful and peaceful as I am. You'd wonder if there's a patch of insanity that here or there. And I guess there's things that you could call insane about me. I'd prefer the moniker eccentric, or actually just me. I mean, I don't even know I'm weird until somebody says I'm weird. But I guess I'm very unique. Whatever. So, and, so are you. Some people go out of their way not to be. And some, you know, everyone is unique in their own way. But there are folks who just need to blend and need to, not so much blend. I think that everybody just has their own thing they're doing. Okay, so here's the thing. There's some knowledge out there that says that your prenatal lunar and solar eclipse data are pretty important. Better take a look at it. And I had, now and then, but then I started to really take a look at it and really kind of try and figure out what it was saying. So my quick way of doing that, my shorthand, is to look at the house that the sun is in, and just take a look at the aspects, what it looks like, just boom, like that. And then take a look at the houses and just see where things are. And then I look up and I listen to or read about the sun in whatever house and the node in whatever house. I don't really even bring in the ascendant. I know I should, but I don't, not for the soul stuff. And it's too, the math hurts my head too much. But you're supposed to then do, after 19 years, it'll circle back and it'll be your return, your something return, metonic return. And math was too hard for me, so I have taken a look at these things though, and boy oh boy, if I have the math right, it really is pretty stunning. The first one, I was almost 19. Almost 20. And that was a time when I made decisions that I couldn't undo, and it set the course of my life and my sister's life, and I'm at peace with it. But it also had to do with it was all about work. And I think it was about leaving home, and it was about standing on your own 2 feet. That was the story of the sun in that house and the node in that house. So then I went to the next one, and it was like Stellium City. Everything was like 3 different signs in one house. Want to know which house? The first house, including the sun. So, wowie zowie. Yeah. If I have the math right, yeah, I would have been pregnant. And there you go. And if it's the year before, I was negotiating getting pregnant. And the funny thing is that the stellium and all those, it's all in Pisces. And Pisces and Aquarius and Capricorn all in the first house. So it was a real, call to self to come back home. I really like that. And then I was thinking, okay, well, I'll do the third one. I don't think it applies. And the first one for the new natal sign won't occur for 13 years. So there you go. I guess I'm in between gigs. It was nice to just be, madly doing the numbers and then trying to figure out what year it would be. And it's like, wait a minute here. No, I don't think this applies, because the eclipses come right on the doorstep of when I was born. The first one happened the 15th. When I was born was the 23rd of February of 1961, and the eclipse was February 15 of 1961. And it was total, I think, it was a big one. So I think that it's it's kind of fun to look at if you got the time. And that was kind of the point of this message, is that I'm starting pretty much now. I really am not going to have the time. I'll be covetous for the time, but I only have a few days, 10 days or so, before I have surgery, and hip surgery is an overnight procedure. So I'm not really sure what kind of extenuating circumstances I need to present with to get a second day. I'm not really sure if I want one, to be honest with you. But it would sure foul things up if I have to be there in a second day. So we'll see. The thing is, I need to have the support that I require at home, and at the moment I don't. I'm still working on equipment, and right now I don't have a phone, so it doesn't help any. Whatever. God, look at this circus off the ground somehow. So I'm very excited about this new phase of my life, but I am also mindful of not so much the fragility of life and the delicacy of human tissue. I feel very, very confident about my treatment team, and plenty of prayers have already gone up, will continue to go up, and will go up in the future. So I'm cool. I'm set. And what will be, right? I mean, I know that I say there is no death. There is only living through light. And then your biology craps out. Well, then, she wasn't much of anybody. So the physical body dies, but I don't have the intention of doing that. That's not my intention. And around here, that's the law of the land, baby. Intention. Everything is set up for this next part. Everything is ready. I'm ready. And I need to have my leg under me. And I know why it is the way it is. I know how to fix it, so I never have a problem with this again. And I've already done the internal adjustments, and the external ones I am doing energetically. And they are presenting to me as having been done. It's a slow process. And nothing goes against anyone's will. But there have been times in this process that I have had to energetically have a sort of a meeting with all of the players in my life. And I've let them know that there has been a shift. And that there are certain requirements for participation at this point. And that I appreciate their changing, but they're going to have to change. And they can change one way or the other, but they have to change to be around me. And it is done in such reverence and devotion and heightened awareness. And it's not done often. But I've had to do it a few times. And it's pretty much with everybody. You know, it's just like when you know that you have upshifted and you want to take the people with you, then you need to let them know what's required. And their souls know what to do. And it's only if their personality consents or not. And consent is all. Free will is all. And so it's only presented to the people, and then they have to decide. And so there are people who and last night I was grieving. I was like really crying about all of this because it was getting to be really real. And I could feel how important this is, and how it is the end of, again, it's the end of a whole lifetime that was lived in service to the point where I ground my hip to dust. And there were other reasons for my hip to fail, my right hip to fail. And they were not entirely of my own making, and that's why my hip failed. So this is different. This is a physical reclamation and a proclamation of a different way of standing that I've certainly been practicing for several years, but which I get to own and embody. And I find it beautiful that this physical event is, God willing, close on the heels of this awareness of mine changing. So I really appreciate that. And so I do also want to note that that part of the disconnect with people from the past, and you may be having these similar kind of things, who are maybe estranged, or who you keep missing, or you keep missing the intention, or there's problems with communication, there's remorse, there's regret, there's this tangy feeling of being you've just done it so wrong that there's no way to be forgiven. I've had that experience with a few people, and it's hard for me to know, what I've caused, and what I'm feeling, and what's mine and what's theirs, and all that stuff. All I really do know is how uncomfortable it is. And what I have been aware of ever since my birthday is what a waste of time it is. And that's not saying that the person or the relationship is a waste of time. The resistance is a waste of time. What's a waste of time is holding a grudge. It's not trusting the person who you used to trust. It's and so there have been people who have rejected me fully from my past, who just will have nothing to do with me, and they don't tell me why. But this is, like I've said, a pattern that I've had throughout my life of sudden abandonment by friends who I thought were going to be there forever. And maybe in retrospect you'll learn, oh, wow, I guess I was a son of a bitch. But it wasn't like that ever. It was more like just something that was visited upon me, not really ever understanding why I was suddenly left alone. What did I do again? What did I do to warrant this again? These sudden changes in status. So, and I realized that, you can blame it on my geometry with Uranus in the 12th house and delivering zings with that yod. And Pluto retrograde in my first house with my ascendant and my north node. I was going to have a lot of those. Just complete breakdowns of everything, of reality, of sudden and complete transformation. You don't get transformed without turning from one thing to another thing. Think cocoon, caterpillar, cocoon, butterfly. So anyhow, I think that I've been kind of looking at all of it and trying to figure out my place in all of this, and I feel confident. I don't have any fear. I have every intention of waking up and complaining about having hip pain. I don't intend on croaking on the table. And that's the thing. I think that what it used to be that my sight was so narrowed by all of the crappy things that could very well happen and usually did. Usually did. And so after a lifetime of sort of preparing for the worst, hoping for the best, and preparing for the worst, and oftentimes finding that the worst that I could imagine wasn't even close. It wasn't even close to the worst that was delivered. And so, I mean, that it's not like every day was a horror, but there were some horrific days. And to have that lift. Brian delivered a talk, I think it was a Laguna Hills talk, I don't remember. But it was to give us hope and to bring us home. And he said that they said part of the reason that they're here talking to us about the old soul, about the new human being, about our path, about our purpose and our place here, is to remind us that we're winning. And with a group of people who have never won, well, you have to be kind of clear about things because they're not going to believe it right at first. And that was what it was like for me, and that's why I wrote, I think, as I did. I would feel crappy like 1% of the time, and then, as it got lighter, I was feeling, I would have hits of light, is what I called it, just hits of light. I would have, my reality would alter, it would loosen, it would lighten. I could feel my tribe. And then the darkness would descend. Then I would be invited to hate myself again and to minimize myself and to find excuses that aren't nice for how I should be proud of being. And so it was, I saw today really a process of simply breaking engrams. These engrams of personality, of expectation and response and reaction. I think that's a good way of looking at it. And so in this 57th year, which I think the thingy would be in February, like February 5 of 29. I don't know, see? I don't know. But it's my 57th year. And the eclipse that occurred on the 3rd, well, that was of this year. I was still 56th. That's right. And either way, it doesn't matter. What matters is that the portents are good, as they always have been. That's what I always think about astrology. How can you think bad things about your astrology? I mean, isn't the point to learn how to love yourself and to work with what God gave you and to not hate yourself? I mean, if you're a hothead and you're a Leo, you got something going on because that's something that's natural for you. Or being an attention hog, which is those are all good things. Well then, you're going to be in an argument a lot. And so anyway, well, I'm wasting time. I need to go. I don't want to. I'm comfortable. And I'm a little scared because I have things that I have to do that I don't like to do and I'm not very good at. And I get punished if I don't do well. So I don't like to even start. That's become my strategy. Don't even start. And it's not a winning strategy. So I'm breaking out of that one too. And it requires just doing things differently. There's nothing wrong with that. It's whether when you're doing something differently, especially for like the very first or second time, like a newly foaled deer. You don't need somebody standing right next to you saying, "You're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong." Or, worse, punishing you for not doing it the way they think you should do it. When you're just doing your best, taking your first few steps. What if we all treated each other like that? I've never been 57 before on this date, February 26th of 2018. On this day, I've never had a son who's 17. And so it's a brand new experience in a way. And I allow myself to be flexible. Because that's what powerful people do. They don't need the situation to bend to them. They're powerful enough to bend to the situation. They're normally not the takers. They're the givers. If it has to be give and take. Give and take is service to self and service to other. Give and receive, that's different. To give and receive, that means that the giving is being done unconditionally, with no thought of outcome at all. Furthest thing from the mind. And any thought of putting any kind of outcome expectation on it is really inappropriate and kind of gross. And the person who receives that, they're receiving a bundle. Because they're receiving true love. They're receiving what people search their whole lives for. Selflessness. Gentleness. Kindness. And it's not really being served. It's serving each other. It's cooperating. And that to me is describing the what you want to call the fifth dimension, the unity band of consciousness. It's just so weird that I happen to have friends who practice their lives like that. And I can hang out with them and learn from them, study how to not burn up and not break down, not blow away, and not wash away these engrams, these patterns, these knowings about how things are, but to transmute them, to find them whole and beautiful, purposeful, complete. No need to explain them. No need to defend them. They're fine, just as they are. The question is, what feels best? If you know a better way, well, now is the time to actually practice that. It's wonderful to know a new way, a better way. Anybody who reads the Bible and really takes to heart things like, I don't know, if you visited somebody in prison, if you gave them clothing when they needed clothing, when you helped someone when they needed help, actually really, when it got in there and helped them, then you helped me. And it was Jesus talking. And well, people don't really take that. A lot of obviously the powers that be don't take that seriously, but a lot of people do. And I like those people. And I realize that the people who I really love the most, who I really want to hang out with the most and feel the most comfortable around, and feel the most honored around, are in love with God too. And so it began to dawn on me that this is something that is this is a signature, and it's something that some of us just have, but everyone has a relationship with Creator, and it might be distant, and it might be estranged, and it might be undervalued, but you got one. And I would suggest that that relationship that you have with Creator is probably a lot like the relationship you have with yourself. And I'm not really talking about the soul self, I'm talking about the ego self. And the deeper you can go, the deeper you can go. So you can be real holy and still have a really, really unholy ego. And so what really, I think, is most important as we move forward in this new age is consent, and really wanting to do right by each other. And if that's your true north, you just want to do right by people, and you're already fully doing right by yourself. Well, you know, there are times when people block you being able to do right by yourself, for yourself. You're entangled with someone who really seems to need to bind you up or slow you down, or imprison you, or mess with you, or that kind of thing. And take it from me, look at my natal chart. I know about those kind of relationships. I know they exist. And I know you don't say, oh, let me sign me up for that. But sometimes if you're a brilliant, dazzling light, and you are very loving, very patient and kind and forbearing, people take advantage of you. And they can take advantage of you energetically. And that's why I've said, there's a lot of things that can and should and are being done energetically by yours truly and others, because consciously you can't get to people. But now's the time to get to people. So I think all of us are doing work while we're sleeping. I think this is a very active time. And, they said the first quarter of 2018 was when this synchronized event was going to happen. The sun was going to burp. And we were all going to go, whoa, check out that plasma. Yeah. Well, it's coming up. Not long now. And those kind of predictions, they're all subject to collective consciousness change and all kinds of stuff. But there's some things that are just planned. They're just they may not be etched in any kind of stone or any kind of planet or any kind of anything, but they're just known. And there's some things like reincarnation. You don't have to believe it. It's just fine whether you believe it or not. Same with God. It doesn't lose any power if you don't believe in it. It still goes on and on. You'll feel better if you do, but, because you're actually kind of like more in alignment with reality, but it's up to you. Nobody's going to make you. So, interesting little chat, huh? I think so. I really feel as if I got everything out that needed to get out. And now I feel like I can go do my running around. I think I'm going to eat first and then go run around and get everything done in time. And then do some more things that are required. And it'll be a lot of fun. And move this thing along day by day. Day by day. So, I feel a sense of such completion with my life, with my work, with this work, with physically. That, you know, I had said again and again that this is sort of what people go through, this life review, and I feel like I'm dying. I feel like I'm finishing things up. And it was really nice last year to be starting to work with this new geometry and to get comfortable with the idea that no, life actually does go on. And that life has been going on as a brand new being since 2012. And you have all of these beautiful visions to prove it to you when you get scared. So don't worry about a thing. Take our hand. All is well. Look through these eyes. Smile. What sounds good to eat? What sounds good? You know, it doesn't. It's not like it gets to be too much or anything like that. But I'm really good at modulating my frequency, so I'm not always in the ethers. Good God, I have things I have to accomplish in the here and now. But it's that stuff that gives me just the heebie-jeebies. Yeah, I can talk all about this esoteric stuff, but get me talking about day planning and appointment keeping and financial plans, and I tense up. I know what that's from, but I don't care. There's not a whole lot of talking to it. What do you think I have been trying? So what it tells me when I feel that kind of resistance is that I need to give myself a whole lot of care. If it is required of me that I behave in those very constrictive ways, and I be measured using other people's measurements. And that's what happens when you go into the medicine thing and they fix you up like they're doing. And it's an unpleasant experience, but it's one that I'm happy to go through to at this time. So that's that. And I'm very pleased that we're here, and that I can offer you such esoterica and such a call toward blending in. Not, and that doesn't mean you don't get to stop being weird. It didn't stop me. But what I mean by that is that for a really long time, while I was in the midst of all these changes, I would complain that my energy was really like, people didn't like it, and I could just like walk into a room, people would be really like, I could tell I wasn't liked. And so in 2012, I took a job where I had to blend, I had to merge, I had to be liked. And so I had to learn, what are team building behaviors, what really helps. It's like I was a baby and I was being taught. So I learned about teamwork, and I learned about managing my light in brand new ways from 2012 forward. And as I move into this time of really great transition, voluntarily so, I am struck with the times that I was not loving, when I was unkind, when I, in great frustration or misunderstanding or pride, hurt other people. And that's just the way that things pan out sometimes. But because there's nothing I can do about most of it. But the things that I can do something about, I want to do something about. And what I find is that sometimes the person I feel I've so completely and utterly wronged doesn't think twice about anything. Other times, they might act as if nothing's wrong, but it's dead and over and done. They want nothing more to do with me. And, we can keep poking that carcass, but there's really no point, except to satisfy roles. And then there are some relationships that have such a dynamism and such an intention for growth and change and for cooperation that amazing things can occur. And I have a very great myriad of relationships in my life. I'm certain you do too. And these have the players, the actors may change. There are some who they're just, it's imprinted, boom. And really that's true with everyone. I guess to end, I just kind of feel like the only thing that I've done wrong is to not better prove how much I love the people around me. Really. That's what if I regret anything, it's that. Not being able to fully, express myself. And yeah. But that really is pretty much the hallmark of the lifetime that was just lived. Having trouble communicating. Okay, well, it's time to listen to this and then skedaddle and do a couple of errands, and I'm coming home and making some really good food. And I'm wishing you well, wishing you peace and solidity, integration, hope that is born from experience and inner power, the flame that can't go out. It's isn't there anything else to talk about that's so silly, kind of thing. So from that place, not being able to figure out the math of this thing or that thing, well, that's not so big a deal. Nothing so big a deal, really. Love thyself, know thyself, and do the same for the geek next door, the goober who's next to you, the person who can do nothing but wrong you, no matter what. They just have it out for you. Everybody, don't take any shit. Don't get full on bullied. You don't need to let that stuff go anymore. But come on. There's a lot that can just roll. And that has to do with power. Not control. Power. See you later.